Sorry.
No worries. And then when you're ready, it is... Talk a little bit about your films and how it relates home to you.
Okay, well, there's three films. The first one that I want to talk about is Lolo's Present. The second one is The Story of Fry. And the third film is The Selling Songs of Late Day. The first film, Lolo's Present, was an entry to a film, I guess you could say call out to a reality show. And they wanted budding filmmakers to submit their work. And if they were chosen, they would go on to a reality series of competing for $1 million. So obviously mine didn't make the cut, but my story really is about something that I hold dear to myself. It's my family. So Lola's Present is about a family. And the family happens to live here in the Bay Area. And someone like an elderly, maybe a grandpa or granduncle arrives, and he arrives with this mysterious box. Everyone has their ideas of what's inside the box. So the story kind of like is really about people's dreams. I think that's what it is, because we find out through the film that the box triggers stories or memories of what people think what home is for them. So it's a story that at the time when I made it, I was separated from my own wife and kids. So maybe that was my way of processing me being away from my family. The second film that I'm going to talk about is The Story of Fry. Now, this is probably the oldest of my films in the making, because that started out as I was an art student at the time, and at the time we were making children's books. Well, The Story of Fry was originally made for a children's book, but it always stayed like a student project. Through time, I decided to re-illustrate the drawings as I got older. So I found out that when I re-illustrated them, I found out there was another submission to, for someone who, if you wanted to submit your work, you might get chosen to get published. So I submitted that work, my new illustrated version of my original story. And of course, obviously, that didn't happen either. Never got published. But I kept the drawings, of course, and through the years, up until 2020, I decided, since I never got published, might as well just make a short film about it. The film really is about the overseas Filipino worker phenomenon. It's about how millions of Filipinos, when I was growing up in the Philippines, have families who go abroad to earn a living. And there's pros and cons for that. So I decided to make an editorial about the phenomenon, so I decided to take one side. A lot of times when families go abroad, they do it for economical reasons. They want to send money home so that their families can have a better life. But on the flip side, it's kind of hard for people who are left behind. So that's what that story addresses. Now, Selling Songs of Late Day is probably the longest of the three films. It's only 14 minutes long. And it took me about maybe 3 years to make, only because at the time I was teaching myself how to edit. And I didn't know how to edit, so I was teaching myself. I was borrowing people's computers so I could learn how to edit. Until later I got my own computer. Life happened and kind of prolonged the process. That's why it took me 3 years. I took about 14 hours of footage, going back and forth to the place where I shot the documentary, and it was edited down to 14 minutes. So it was hard for me to cut down a lot of interesting footage to tell a story. And when I finally did, I submitted it to many film festivals, both here in the US and abroad. So it's probably been shown in a lot of places like Turkey, Paris, Australia, the Philippines, and in several cities across the US. But in 2004, it actually got an award. So it got the award of the 2004 Best Foreign Short Documentary at the New York International Independent Film and Video Festival. I know it's been a long time, but when I go back to watching the movie, I always wonder about the characters and where they are now. Most recently, there was a super typhoon that hit the Philippines, and a lot of people died. So I wonder if any of the characters in my documentary are still around doing what they're doing, and if the tradition of the characters in the story are still being continued by them or the family members. So it's dedicated to my wife and daughter. It was also made when they were away from me. So every time my family watches that film, I get emotional because that's a place where my family was when I couldn't be with them. So those are the kind of short backgrounders about the three films. As far as in relationship to the exhibit, I think they're all films that take me home. I think home is where the heart is, and I think home is all about family. So I think these three films all talk about family and how the dynamic is. Like for Selling Songs of Leyte, that would be the home that I left behind, and for the story of Fry, it would be the family that got separated, and then for Lola's Present, it's when the actual family member is coming home. So I think they're all about home and family.
And what do you want people to know about your home, or just the idea of home to you when they look at your artwork?
Well, I feel like these three films have just opened the surface of what I think I want people to know. I've always enjoyed film, and the first time I picked up my first video camera was when I started to fall in love with telling stories. Behind being a filmmaker, my original passion was, illustration and photography and graphic design. I think most people know me for something like that. Either I draw faces, or I documented their wedding, or did a logo for one of their organizations. But people normally don't see me, Eli, as the filmmaker, and I think I have lots of stories to tell. I just don't have the time or the resources at the moment. But I think being an illustrator, a graphic designer, all come into together when I think of a new film. The film that I'm trying to write right now is I'm already storyboarding. I'm drawing it up. I'm already thinking about the titles. I'm already thinking about the locations and how I'm going to pitch it to get funding, to get support. But if I were to make another film, it would probably be a drama. So I like telling stories with a little drama. I think you can get that from the short films here.
Perfect. I think that's all the questions I had.
Well, thank you for the time.
Yeah.